The chaos that followed Arjun Rathore was as predictable as the monsoon rains. He was a hurricane in human form, the only son of Minister Sahib, and the entire city knew to clear a path when his silver sports car screamed through the streets. His rebellions were legendary, from shutting down a five-star hotel because they served him the wrong vintage of champagne to publicly humiliating his father's most trusted aides. He was untamable, a wild stallion whose destructive streak was bankrolled by limitless wealth and political immunity. His father, a man who commanded the state with an iron fist, was utterly powerless before his own son. He had tried everything: stern lectures, cutting off his allowances, hiring the toughest ex-commandos as bodyguards who would double as minders. They all failed. Arjun's disdain was a force of nature, and his smile, a weapon he used to mock their efforts. The minister's mansion was a gilded cage of misery, and everyone had accepted that this was how it would always be. Until the accident. It was a rainy Tuesday night. Arjun, fresh from another public scandal, was driving back from a party, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold through his intoxicated vision. He took a corner too fast, his tires losing their grip on the slick asphalt. The car spun, a violent screeching pirouette, before crashing into a concrete divider. The metal crumpled like paper, and the world went black. He woke up in the sterile white silence of a private hospital room, his body a canvas of pain, his right leg suspended in a cast. The minister, his face ashen with a mixture of fear and fury, had issued one command: assign him the strictest, most no nonsense nurse in the facility. That was how Anya Sharma entered his life. She was a quiet storm in a white uniform. Her eyes, the color of dark coffee, held no awe for his name, no fear of his temper. They were calm, observant, and utterly professional. When Arjun, groggy from painkillers, threw his first tantrum, hurling a glass of water against the wall because it was too cold, she didn't flinch. She simply looked at the shattered pieces, then back at him, and said in a voice that was soft yet unyielding, "The glass is not your enemy, Arjun. The pain is. But I am not your enemy either." She cleaned the mess in silence, her movements efficient and graceful, and brought him another glass without a word of reprimand. Her silence was more disarming than any shout could have been. He was prepared for a fight. She gave him resolute peace. Days turned into a routine of pain, frustration, and Anya's unwavering presence. She administered his injections with a gentle hand that barely caused a sting. She changed his dressings while telling him stories about her other patients: an old man who painted with his left hand after a stroke, a little girl who braved chemotherapy with a smile. She spoke of resilience, of the quiet battles fought in these very rooms, and her stories were like seeds planted in the barren soil of his soul. He who had everything had never known true struggle. She who had so little faced it every day with a courage that left him humbled. One afternoon, in a fit of self-pity, he snarled at her, "Why do you even care? You're just here for your paycheck." For the first time, a flicker of emotion other than calm patience crossed her face. It was sadness. "I care," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "because everyone is someone's child, even you." The word struck him with the force of a physical blow. He had never been seen as just a person, always as the minister's son, a trophy, a problem. She saw the child he once was, buried under the layers of privilege and anger. The breaking point came during a physiotherapy session. The pain was excruciating, a white-hot fire in his muscles. He refused to go on, screaming at the therapist to leave him alone. Everyone retreated, helpless, but Anya stepped forward. She didn't coax or plead. She knelt beside his wheelchair, her eyes locking with his, and said, "This pain is your mountain, Arjun. You can let it crush you and stay at the bottom forever, a spoiled boy in a caste. Or you can climb it, one agonizing step at a time. The choice is yours. But I will be right here whether you climb or not. I will not abandon my patient." Something in her unwavering gaze, in the sheer bravery it took to stand up to him, not with force, but with steadfast belief, broke the dam inside him. Tears he had not shed since he was a child welled in his eyes, not just from the physical agony, but from the sheer weight of her faith. He nodded, a silent, shaky surrender. He took the step, and then another. Weeks later, Arjun Rathore, walking with a slight limp and a cane, was a changed man. The wild, reckless glint in his eyes had been replaced by a thoughtful calm. He started reading the books Anya left on his bedside table. He began asking his father about his work, not to mock it, but to understand it. The hurricane had passed, leaving behind a landscape ready for new growth. The impossible had been accomplished, not by a politician's power, not by a commando's strength, but by the sheer unassuming bravery of a poor nurse who had looked at a broken young man and seen not a monster, but a lost child in need of a steady hand to guide him home. She had tamed the untamable by refusing to see a beast and instead believing in the man he could become.